At this time, I would ask the Blount County Clerk, Gay Hasty, to read the call of the meeting, please.
Call for a special meeting of the Blount County Board of Commissioners and the Blount Board of Education to be held at Heritage High School. We'll mess up anything. Okay. To be held at the Heritage High School Theater, 3741 East Lamar Alexander Parkway, Maryville, Tennessee, 37804 on Thursday, November the 3rd, 2016 at 6:30 p.m. Pursuant to and in accordance with the authority vested in me by TCA 5-5-105, I hereby call the Board of County Commissioners of Blount County, Tennessee to meet in special session on the 3rd day of November 2016 at 6:30 p.m. at the Heritage High School Theater, 3741 East Lamar Alexander Parkway in Maryville, Tennessee, 37804 for the following. Presentation by Michael Brady, Inc. regarding the facilities assessment and master plan for Heritage High School and William Blount High School. Thank you. Commissioner Acard, Commissioner, thank you, Commissioner Allen, Commissioner Archer, Commissioner Bennett, Commissioner Bowers, Commissioner Carter, Commissioner Carver, Commissioner Caskey, Commissioner Kaler, Commissioner Cole, Commissioner Crow, Commissioner Daly, Commissioner Farmer, Commissioner French, Commissioner Lewis, Commissioner Melton, Commissioner Miller, Commissioner Monroe, Commissioner Moon, Commissioner Samples, Commissioner Stinnett. Thank you.
Thank you, Clerk. We have 16 present. We have a quorum. Blount County Board of Commissioners and the Chair appreciates this opportunity, the invitation to hear this presentation. At this time, the Chair yields to the Chair of the Blount County Board of Education.
Good evening, and thank you all for joining us tonight. Ms. Tipton, will you call roll of the Board of Education?
Mr. Compton, Mr. Finley, Mr. Goins, Mr. Hilton, Mr. Kirkland, Mr. Paget, Mrs. Setoff. You do have a quorum of the Board of Education.
Thank you, Ms. Tipton. Thank you, Commissioner Moon. And I'm going to at this time turn the presentation over to Michael Brady Incorporated, and I'll turn it over to Mr. Bill Steverson.
Thank you very much, and we appreciate y'all having us. My name is Bill Steverson. I'm a principal and vice president at Michael Brady Incorporated. I'm an architect. With me tonight is Angie Lyons. She's also an architect and one of the leaders in our K-12 design team. Being a Blount County resident with about 10 to 15% of our staff being Blount County residents, to say that this was a passionate endeavor is really an understatement. We really appreciate the opportunity to present tonight. Early this summer, we were hired by the Blount County School Board to do a facility assessment for both William Blount and Heritage High School. We presented a report to them, of which Andy has a copy there, and tonight is basically a summary presentation of that report. I'm going to start off, I'm going to kind of walk through the basic steps that we took to kind of go through the assessment, I'm going to turn it over to Angie. She's going to talk about specifics of those steps as they pertain to each school, and then I'll wrap back around with some recommendations that we came up with. Basically, there was 4 steps that we took in the assessment process: the physical building assessment, user input, evaluation of data, and recommendations. The physical assessment of the building was basically when we went to the facilities themselves, took visual observations of the existing conditions, evaluated the existing building capacity and educational adequacy of all the spaces. Basically, were the classrooms being used as they were designed? Were the classrooms overcrowded? Were all the spaces being used throughout the school? And not only did we look at the school building itself, we also examined the entire campus, the athletic facilities, the Freshman Academy at William Blount, the CTE buildings at both campuses. One of the things that one of our departments at our company is we have an IT division, and we have the capability to go through and do Wi-Fi assessments. With the one-to-one Chromebook that the schools are going to, we were able to go through and do an assessment of your existing bandwidth and connectivity in your schools. So we did a report, include that, what's there now. I know that it's currently being updated, but we took kind of a snapshot of where you're at now. And we also did, we took all this information and we put it into a kind of a score sheet and scored each school according to several different categories. The next step was to get input from the user groups, basically our clients. And so what we did is we distributed surveys out to the administration, staff, maintenance, school board, and the community. Basically a paper survey that we distributed, collected up. For the community, we had an online survey that we gave people a link to. They could go in and fill out that survey there. After we collected the surveys, we reviewed the information, and then we sat down and had follow-up interviews with key personnel in each of those categories to kind of fill in the gaps that we had in collecting that information. Once we had that, we generated a consolidated list of ideas. Basically, what were the user groups, what did they think was the most important? What were the areas of concern that they had? So now we've got things that we saw in our physical observations of what we thought were important. Now we've got information from the user groups, what they think is important, what they saw, and now trying to coordinate all that information together in a consolidated list. What were some of the commonalities, what were some of the outliers, and try to generate a list of priorities that we both could agree on that we thought were needed in both those campuses. Once we've collected all that information, basically we started trying to attack those areas with design ideas. So, how would we fix these different areas of concern? And when we did that, we also looked at the existing building construction. Okay, how can we accommodate with the existing structures that are there with our design ideas? And then also, obviously cost is always consideration, so we want to do what was the most economical and best thing for the county. So with that, I'll let Angie get into the specifics for each school.
So as Bill mentioned, he just went through what the process is and what the components are, and I'm going to go over our findings. So what did we find after we went through and we completed the checklist and we talked to the staff and the administrators and the community. So I'm just going to go through these quickly, and this is really just a summary of what all we found and what's included in the book. So William Blount High School, strengths, benefit of the separate 9th grade academy. There's a lot of benefits of having that separate component. Setting of the school and the site, it's a great setting. It's beautiful out there. It's a nice site and there's plenty of room. Lots of parking with easy access to the site, and the CTE programs. They're doing a great job with their CTE programs there. So then the weaknesses or the challenges. There's a real disconnection between the CTE, the 9th grade academy, and the main building. It's a disconnection physically and for the students having to go back and forth between those buildings, and it creates a disconnected feeling emotionally as well. Outdated science lab areas, obviously those, I'm sure most of you have been in those, and they're deteriorating, and they just aren't what you would do if you were building a new school. Overall dark feel, no natural light in the commons. Overall, when you go in the building, it's dark. There's not a lot of windows. The commons is dark. There's no windows in there. Poor sight lines for administering the building, and that starts with when you walk in the front doors. So when a visitor walks in the front doors, the front office can't really see that person very well. They might be able to glimpse them through the windows, but they don't have great sight lines. Dated main areas, obviously, the commons, media center, restrooms, auditorium, classroom. I could go through every space in the building. It's just dated. Lack of secure entry vestibule that we were talking about. So that's building control, and that's a key part of school design in general, that you want to be able to control your building. So you need to be able to control who's going in and out of your building. So not just the secure entry vestibule, but being able to control who's going in all of your buildings. So the fact that the CTE building is disconnected is a challenge there as well. Outdated furniture, old outdated furniture and fixtures, I think that's obvious, and that goes along with the dated main areas. Poor curb appeal with the chain link fencing and the razor wire. So it's not really an inviting, necessarily, image. Poor restroom accommodations, and this is something that we heard from almost everyone when we're saying, what do you need in your school? What needs to be fixed? And almost everybody said the restrooms. Lack of modern STEM type CTE labs. So it just isn't there. The STEM type labs just aren't there. Poor air quality, HVAC, again, that's something that we were hearing from almost everyone at this school, is that HVAC is an issue. And the portables. So obviously portables on anytime you have portables on a campus, that's a problem. So heritage, the strengths. Daylight in the commons. Out here, when you go in, it's open and it's bright, and that's nice and that's great. Open space outside the media center, upstairs, outside the media center. There's a big space out there, and there's a lot of potential there. But right now, it's just kind of space. It's not really being used, but there is potential there. Again, the setting of the school and the site and the views, great setting. It's great out here, and there's a lot of space, and so the setting and the site is really nice. And then again, the CTE program's doing a great job. The weaknesses, big weakness, portables on campus. There's more here than at William Blount, so we kind of put that as number one. Those portables create a challenge from security and just the experience of being in the portables, and the fact that when there's bad weather, you can't go into the portables. You have to have classes elsewhere, so that's a big concern. Outdated science lab areas. Again, same thing. Things are deteriorating. The science labs just don't have what they need. Narrow classroom corridors and locker banks with poor space utilization. We see that down in the classroom pods. So those locker banks are taking up a lot of space. And so because of that, the corridors that surround them are narrow, and the locker banks obstruct views. So if an administrator is trying to see through there, you can't quite see through the locker banks. And that happens at William Blount too. Again, the poor sight lines for administering the building, just what I said. If you're walking down the corridor here and you're headed toward the classroom pod, there's a wall. So you can't see into the pod. Your view stops where that blue wall is down the corridor. Same thing, lack of secure entry vestibule. When you walk into this building, you're in the commons. So we have to trust, the administration has to trust that you're going to go where you're supposed to, and you're going to go to the main office and you're going to check in, but there's no control. Old, outdated furniture and fixtures, same thing, and then the poor restroom accommodations school-wide. So that was all from our walkthrough. This is from our community survey, and hopefully some of you were able to go online and fill out the community survey, and it was great. We had over 300 responses to the community survey, which we were really pleased with. We had responses from students, parents, just community members, and this over here on the right, over this, is a snapshot from the survey itself. Now this is for both schools, but this is how it came out. When we asked what is the most important place to be renovated, this is what people said. And it was consistent with what we saw. So people are saying common areas, cafeteria, the aesthetics, auditorium. They're saying a lot of the same athletic facilities. They're saying a lot of the same things that we saw. So over here are just some examples of what we heard. Common areas of concern. So this is what we were hearing from both schools. This is common to both schools. Security of the buildings need to be addressed. Yes, we talked about that. The fact that you're having to go outside and then go into another building, big concern. Lack of secure entry vestibules, big concern. Media centers need to be more technology driven. We get that. A lot of people were saying, you know what, the media centers are underutilized because they don't really have a reason to go there. What are they going to do there? They need to be more technology driven. Restrooms in need of major repairs, heard that many times. Need more power receptacles. We want to plug in, but we can't. So specific to heritage, Would like to see the Commons converted to a college-style dining area. And that's something that we're seeing in school design, that high schools are becoming more like community colleges or more like that kind of feel. So you're having collaboration areas. It doesn't feel like you're going into a school cafeteria. Science should be taught in classrooms designed as labs and science classrooms. Yes, I get it. You know, classes that are science, they should have functioning labs that have gas and have water and all those things that they need to do science. Need updated classroom furniture that accommodates all sizes and the 21st century learning styles. Heard that. People were saying that all different size people who are left-handed, right-handed, all kind of people should be able to fit in these desks, and they don't. So we looked at that, and we have some examples you'll see in some of our renderings of furniture that does that. It needs specific to William Blount. Needs better curb appeal. Yes, it needs, both of these schools could be more icons of the community. So yes, would like to see more natural light in all areas of the school. Absolutely. Again, no windows. It's dark when you go in. It's dark in the commons. Yes. And that the tennis courts are in need of significant repairs. So these are some examples, and I'm sure that all of you in here have seen most of these examples, and this is nothing new, but I'm going to go through it so that you can, if any of you haven't seen these, you can understand what we're talking about in these previous slides where we've talked about some of the concerns. So this is Heritage Locker Bank. The locker banks are hiding spots, and it's wasted space. So mostly in schools, you will see lockers lining corridors. We've also noticed that, and we've heard from people that lockers aren't being used as much as they were. So it's decreasing. And how is that going to change in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years? The need is going to continue to decrease. So this is wasted space up here, not to mention it's an administration concern for being able to see. The dark, non-secure entry. The Commons isn't dark, but as you're walking under that canopy, that's dark. And then obviously no secure entry once you get to the building. Deterioration in the science lab, that's just one example. Dated cafeteria, that's the furnishings, and there's not really any exciting icons or any exciting imagery in that commons. It's just kind of a space with some tables. And dated classrooms, we heard a lot about the carpet and the walls, and of course the furnishings. Corridor with the obstructed sight light into the classroom area. This is what I'm talking about. When you're going down the corridor and all you see is that wall down there, you can't see what's going on past that. The planetarium. If you can see in this picture, there are buckets here. When we were there, they had been having some major leaks, and we went through the planetarium, and from an infrastructure standpoint, it's deteriorating. It would take a lot to bring that back to a functional state. So that's a big concern there because the space is just is deteriorated. Restrooms, just one example of the restrooms, but that's school-wide that the restrooms are in need of repair. Portables. As I said, it's not just the fact that it's a security issue, but the environment. And when we go through and when we do this assessment, we don't just look at the state of your carpet and are there cracks in the walls. We look at what is the experience, what is the educational adequacy, and that doesn't only mean are classes being held in the right kind of classrooms, but it means what is the environment? Does it smell? Is it cold? What is the feeling when you go in there? And the portables don't score well there. Science labs, mentioned that. Science labs just aren't what they need to be. Media center, like I said, it's just not being used for what it could be. It's a big space, and in both of those schools, it's a big space, but it just doesn't have what it needs to be called a media center. And it's funny because when I would ask people, what do you think about the media center? And they would say, well, where's that? You mean a library? Yeah, well, it should be a media center, and it's not. And then the narrow stairs. So that's a concern that people mentioned and that we saw, that when you have kind of these hiding spots back here, it's not good. William Blount, start with the same kind of concern here, these narrow stairways with the concealed spaces. Small auditorium with poor lighting and sound. We see that in both, but at William Blount, it was one of a bigger concern over there. Dark and outdated commons area. Yeah, there's no windows again, no real imagery, no real feel there. Again, it's just a space with some tables. Old and outdated media center with no natural light. The media center over there, it's a tall space. That is a really big space. And so there is a lot of potential to really shape that space. But right now it's just kind of old. I mean, the pictures on the walls are old. Everything just feels kind of dated in there. Detached CTE building. And that's a concern in both schools. But over at William Blount, it's even a bigger disconnection. So it's not as easy to resolve, but that is a bigger concern. unsecure and unwelcoming entry. It's dark when you come in, and even though the main office is right across from the front doors, you don't always know where it is because it is dark. Portable classrooms for the same reasons at Heritage. Non-secure and nondescript sports entry. So it doesn't really feel like it is a really exciting or an icon there again for the entry. Outdated science classrooms, they have the same issues with outdated equipment and just not having equipment that functions. Dark and nondescript entry, we've mentioned that several times, but it's true, it is dark and you kind of don't even know exactly where the door is. Even when you pull up into the parking, you don't exactly know where the door is. This slide over here that's kind of being cut off is talking about the narrow corridors, and down here the small and the tight locker bays. Same issue that we talked about at Heritage, where these lockers are taking up space that they don't need to. That space could be better utilized for something else. Some of the damaged outbuildings and the ones that may need to be reconsidered to whether they need to be there or not, and some of the small and non-functioning restrooms. So we're gonna go through. Now that we've seen all these things, we've summarized what the process is and what the concerns are. We've put together some recommendations, and I'm going to let Bill start walking through that.
Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to start with Heritage first. Obviously, we're here and it's a better school, right, guys? All right, and I do want to say these are our design recommendations and ideas. These aren't set in stone. These aren't, permanent things. These are what we think you need to have, and these are ideas to give you ideas of what can happen and what is within, attainable goals for these schools. And so when you look at these, understand that these are our images and these are possible to happen. Now, they may not look exactly like this in the end, but these are definitely doable things. So we're going to start off with Heritage, and we talked about, we're going to go through the floor plan. If you guys recognize the floor plan here, and I'm going to orient you. Try to do this. Right now, this is the main entry right here, and this is the commons area as you come in. The office and administrative core is right here. We're currently in the auditorium right here, the gymnasium here, the auxiliary gym here. These are the current classroom, first level classroom pods. These are those locker banks that Angie was showing you pictures of right here. A couple things to take note of: this long, narrow corridor that connects the commons to the classroom area. And we noticed during the day when students are moving through the school, this really is a congested, bottlenecked area that the students go through. And in the CTE building, again, you can see how it is detached. You actually have to go outside the building under a canopy to get to the CTE building. And of course the planetarium right there. And so this is what we anticipate doing. What we want to do is we want to basically push out the existing front entry of the school. Okay, again, keep all the glass and all that open light in the commons area, but push it out, make it, expand it a little bit, relocate the administrative core into this area here. The main idea being that once school starts, you can lock these doors, and that anybody that enters the school would have to come in through the administration core, through the office. So school security is a big deal now, and that's something that we really want to take care of. Now, what we've done is we've relocated that narrow corridor that used to be here and created a nice wide open corridor with glass to allow access into the classroom pods. We've eliminated the locker bank areas. We've located lockers along the wall here and created some collaborative spaces in the center. And again, what this allows is common sight lines that you can stand here and you can look and you can see what's going on in these classroom pods here. Renovate the existing auditorium and accessory spaces, and then create a new math and science wing where we would actually connect the current CTE building to the existing high school right here. So these would all be new science and math classrooms with collaborative spaces and lab spaces right in here. Again, the idea is now we've got one building that you can secure, and the students don't have to go outside at all. They can stay within that building. You can secure it. And obviously we would renovate the gymnasium. Now, we don't show all the spaces colored. Don't think that we're not doing anything. We're going to touch just about every space in all the schools, but these are just some major areas that we're we're discussing right now. But we will go in and we'll put new finishes and new touches throughout the school in all the rooms, all the classrooms, all the special ed, all those areas get worked on. This is the upper level of Heritage High School, and again, this is the open space in the common areas. This is the current library or media center right here, and then the upstairs for each classroom pod, again with the locker banks. And this is that open space Angie was talking about right outside the media center right there. And what we talked about is renovating the media center and taking advantage of this space out here, eliminating the locker banks for more collaborative space and open sight lines for the classrooms. You ready? All right. When you come up to Heritage High School, this is what we would think you would see. So this would be the new entry to Heritage High School. And just for reference, this is the current picture of what it looks like. And so again, we would push out the front of the building with lots of glass. Again, that's one of the great aspects of what they have now, and we don't want to lose that. The new administrative core, kind of a two-story, lots of glass. You come in, and this is where you would enter after school starts. This is our secure entry right here. We would also create a vestibule for the gymnasium as well that's connected to the commons area. So that if you want to come in and just go to the gymnasium, you can kind of come into that vestibule right there.
I'm just going to add that the existing building is so heavy, so much brick, and Bill touched on it, but the intention was to lighten it up. And so in lightening up, that's what we did by adding these bigger glass walls and these glass boxes and creating this plaza, was all to lighten up this existing heaviness.
If you remember, we talked about that new corridor that connects the commons area with the classroom wing. And that's basically what this view is from the classroom wing looking back towards the commons area. Again, lots of glass to open this corridor up to make it seem even wider than it already is, and have some comfortable seating down the way. Locate the College and Career Counseling Center right here at the end, adjacent to the classroom area. So that's where, that's what we're here for, right? Is to help these kids live on, don't want to stay in high school forever, right? So, and again, it's, I don't know why our projector's cutting off, but this is that existing bottleneck corridor that's there now. And so, trying to take advantage of that.
So this starts to feel a little bit more like a main street. So this is really kind of where a lot of things are happening. The administration is over there, but this College and Career Center, we've not only moved it or put it central to the classrooms, but where people are going. And that's why we put this seating out here, so that if you're filling out an application or whatever it is that you need to do, that it's easy. It's an easy place to do that, and it's right that you pass it all the time. So it's easy for you to pop in.
We would also renovate the commons area. And this is, again, a kind of a shot of what it looks like now. And this, we pushed out the front, and we've got some comfortable seating here, and we've created a variety of seating. So it's not all, it's one of the things that really struck us, and I think the current school system deserves a lot of credit. There's furniture out there that was here when it originally opened in 1977, and I don't think I have furniture that's old. So it's just amazing that they've taken that good care of it, but it's not the greatest furniture anymore. And so create a wide variety of different seating arrangements and different seating styles. Rebranding the theater, give it a little bit more iconic look. Same with the gymnasium here. And again, this is that highway, that corridor that goes to the administration core and on into the classroom wings.
And I just wanted to add that with the theater, we've moved the entry, because right now I can see the tables out there, and you're in the commons and then you're in the theater. So we've created behind this wall here, which becomes a real feature wall there. Behind that, there is the entry around the sides. So you do have some kind of vestibule, so you're not walking right into it.
We talked about this math and science wing that would connect the existing high school with the CTE building, and this is kind of that corridor with the classrooms on either side. that would connect. We're going from the main school to the CTE program. And one of the things that I failed to mention earlier is, right now there's a disconnect. CTE is kind of one group of folks in the high school. We want to bring those together because with the new STEM programs, with robotics and STEM and STEAM and all those types of programs that are developing, they're also done in collaboration with the current CTE programs. And so by locating those close together, we really help meld those students together, we think. So that's kind of that view looking down that corridor.
Just going to add that, and you'll see this in the classrooms as well, but we've added these windows and a lot of glass in here so that you see what's going on. You see the exciting things that are going on in the STEM classroom. So as you're going down the corridor, you're getting glimpses of everything that's going on in there. And we've also included these collaboration spaces for overflow, small groups, and that sort of thing.
We talked about the open space in this on the second level, and this is a kind of a current picture of what it looks like now, and this is what we envision. Basically, fixing up the finishes and opening up the media center, basically a glass wall, for two things: to help make this space feel better, and to also invite people to use the media center to make it a more usable space. And we also carved out a small portion of the existing media center to create a Mountaineer bookstore. Basically, what we found, and a lot of schools are doing this now, that they'll create a small little kind of a store, and it'll be student run, whether it's by the DECA department or whoever, and they'll sell t-shirts, hats, maybe some coffee or soft drinks, bottled drinks, and those types of things. And they find that students start wearing more of their own school stuff and start showing a lot more school pride.
And with this glazing, with this glass here, we were really trying to engage this with the corridor, because right now that media center is behind a wall and you don't see it when you're walking down the corridor. So really trying to engage the people walking down the corridor with what's going on inside the media center.
And then a view inside the media center, and again, kind of what it looks like now and what we envision seeing. There is some existing clear story windows in the back, and even though the view is of the roof, we would still like to increase the size of those windows just to let in natural light. And even if those windows become translucent glazing where you can't see clear, they do let in some natural light and kind of really make that space feel a lot better. And another thing we would have throughout both schools would be, especially in the media center and in the commons area, these charging stations. As you know, more kids are going to electronics with the one-to-one notebooks, and so they need the ability to charge and to connect. And so that is becoming a more important thing in these schools today. So we would have those throughout the schools.
And this that you're seeing back here, this is that bookstore. So the bookstore comes into the media center, so you could access it from that corridor or you could access it from the media center itself. There's an existing snack shop in the media center now. This is really just expanding what that is and making it more accessible to people and engaging it more with the media center.
This kind of a typical view of one of the new science classrooms, kind of what's there now and then what we envision seeing in the new science wing. And again, not only the furniture and the equipment to do laboratory experiences and things like that, but also having space for teachers to have small lecture group discussions and things to talk about in the classroom. And then we'd go through and we would renovate a lot of the classrooms. This is kind of a typical classroom here. One thing, we would go and we would replace these, I guess, temporary panels that have been there kind of permanently with more substantial structure. And obviously, work on the finishes. And Angie talked about some new, different styles of furniture. And this is a new product that we just kind of popped in there to give you an idea. Whether it's individual stations like this or long tables, either way, new furnishings throughout for all the classrooms.
And again, that opening up that classroom into the corridor.
And again, just different ideas on how you can take some of that same furniture and move it around into some more collaborative spaces. And while the Heritage High School students are really doing some complex problems. And then we can't forget about athletics. And so one of the things that we talked about, obviously we do some maintenance on the baseball field and the softball field and the tennis courts, but at Heritage High School, and you'll see it with William Blount as well, we would, face the stadium with brick and stone. And currently, it's just a one-story spaces underneath there now. There's adequate room to put a second level above that. And so what we plan on doing is renovating the locker rooms and the restrooms on the lower level, and then putting some spaces above, coaches' offices, film room, weight room, and those. And in Heritage High School, we would put glass across the back there, so they would have view of the practice field. So if the coaches wanted to stand out there and watch practice from their offices and those types of things, they could do that from up there. We would create a new, more monumental entrance on the home side. We would have something maybe not as big on the visitor side that would lead to the visitor bleachers. And then there would be a visitor side. Yeah, we would put the visitors on the other side.
There's some bleachers over there. They're kind of fading into the background, but there are some bleachers in there.
And we create kind of a plaza, more of a plaza feel as you come in here. And we would have these brick little kind of mini columns with non-scalable wrought iron looking fence between them. And we could, the thought was we could put poles on these things to hang all the championship banners that are soon to come. Okay, now we'll move across county, and we'll talk about William Blount. For those of you not familiar, let me kind of orient you. This is the existing front entry to William Blount High School. As you come in, this is kind of the administrative wing right here. You go down this corridor. This is the current commons area here, the gymnasium here, the auxiliary gym here, the auditorium here. This is the kitchen area right here. Again, some of these long, narrow corridors. This is the kind of the classroom area here. And here, this is the current media center. This is their locker banks are a little different. They're kind of centralized on each floor right there. A couple things to keep in mind. This is a real pinch point right here. All the students, when they go to lunch, there's one entry into the area where they get their food, and it's right here. And if you're standing right here when the lunch bell rings, you better watch out because you're going to get run over. And it backs up, and it's kind of a congested area as well. And again, notice the distance between the CTE building and the current school. And this is what we envision doing at William Blount. What we'd like to do is we'd like to lose a couple classrooms here and add on to the front and push it out a little bit and kind of have a two-story entry with lots of glass and light to let it in, and locate the administrative core right here. Again, the idea is once school starts, you come in, you'd have to go through the office to get into the school, kind of that security, which is so important in these schools here. We would expand the commons area and make the commons area visible from the front door. So you can kind of come in and you see, very much like it is at Heritage, you can see the nice space here. And again, expand the current library media center right here, again, to be more visible as you come into the school. New school store, renovate the gym, expand the locker rooms in there, the auxiliary gym and the wrestling room. In expanding the locker rooms, we lost a classroom, an art classroom, so we relocated over here and added a few more classrooms back here and created a new, what I'll call sports entry for the basketball and volleyball and wrestling, all the indoor events you come into from here. We would rework the restrooms in this area here in the classrooms, and right now currently there's an overhang at William Blount. As you go in here, this is kind of a covered walkway, but there's no doors to it, and it doesn't really lead anywhere. So I'm not sure why they did it originally, but what we want to do is we want to push out and capture that space to make these classrooms bigger, and in doing that, allow us to push in some of these hallway walls to give us more space in these hallways here, and rework these locker bank areas to create some more collaborative spaces in these areas here. Expand the kitchen. Again, we need to have more access points to get in, so the students can get in, can get their food, and come in and eat. And expanding the commons area, we had to push in, and we lost our auditorium. And what we did with the remaining space was we created a couple lecture-style classrooms, kind of auditorium-style classrooms right here to take advantage of the sloped floor. We reworked and made a bigger choir area. We also located a career and college counseling center right here. So it's separated from the administration, but just right across the vestibule. But they have their own offices and their own facilities, and even a large room where if they need to bring in a group of parents or students to do a seminar or anything, they've got their space right there. And then what we did is we created a new band room with lots of storage in here, and then a new 1,500 seat auditorium right here. One of the problems that William Blount has is they don't have a space where they can fit their entire school for anything. Even the gym is not big enough. So we created a large 15-seat auditorium right here. And then the remaining space, we relocated the admin core for the CTE right here and added some robotics classrooms and labs right in here. And the auditorium it'll have an entrance on this side and an entrance on this side, and it can be segregated from the rest of the school. One of the things we see a lot of times is schools will that have this kind of space will lease it out to outside groups, whether it's a church group or another function that needs a big space, and it's a source of revenue for them as well. And it also brings the community in and makes the school more usable by the community. Another thing that we did, we talked about it at both schools, is as you come in, we've kind of got this little pocket space that we created, and it was brought up by several folks, and I think it's a great idea. I wish I had come up with it, but it's what we call our Hall of Fame. And the idea is you create, and Heritage has had some really, and William Blount have both had some really significant graduates do some things. Matter of fact, our own CEO is a Heritage graduate. So an area where you can identify and celebrate some people that have done some really tremendous things in the world right as you come in. And we would have an athletic Hall of Fame as well, but maybe locate it back here in the athletic entrance. But have, whether it's somebody's become an astronaut or, gotten a patent or, God forbid, become a famous politician, put them right in that area right there. Kind of the current upstairs for William Blount, again, kind of the classroom pod here, and this is that open space that we showed at William Blount in their media center. It's just open right now. There's nothing there. And then again, what we'd like to do is renovate the restrooms and the locker banks. When we push out and add on, we've created some more classrooms for some new science classrooms right in here, and some additional classrooms upstairs. And then we've also created another kind of an observational classroom right here in the media center. You guys ready? This is a site plan, and there was a question about, well, when you do this, because right now there's a drive that separates the CTE from the main school. So how do you do it? So basically, we would create some additional parking. This is a big auditorium. You got to have plenty of parking, so we'd have some parking both here and here. Still be able to drive around the entire school as you go. We looked at the freshman academy, and in the grand scheme of things, the freshman academy was pretty good. It needed some maintenance things done to it, but we really weren't planning on doing a whole lot to the freshman academy. It overall flowed well and looked like it was performing well. We would renovate the tennis courts. We would take out 2 courts, but put in a covered pavilion with some stadium seating in there. Again, touch up the baseball and softball field, rework the football stadium. We would put turf at both fields. And again, visitor bleachers to get those nasty visitors on the other side. And this would be the front of William Blount High School. Again, kind of the 2-story glass entry as you come in, pushing out for the administrative core and the classrooms above. We would create new we would take out the old stairwells and create new, larger stairwells at all the corners with lots of glass. This is kind of the updated commons area. Looking back, this would be the entry and the administrative core as you're looking towards that area. Again, we would have a small called the Governor's Shop at William Blount. This would be the lecture auditorium classrooms this way right here. We would have video menu boards so you could see what was for lunch as you came in. Again, lots of different seating groups, whether it's booth seating, comfortable seating, high top table seating, some stand-up seating. And this would be the new media center here. And again, we would open it up with lots of glass to both levels. This would be that observational classroom that we talked about earlier before here. And again, you kind of we put new finishes and really dress it up, create lots of places where you could connect and charge. And with the classroom here, it creates some more intimate spaces here if you want to have some more private discussions or study areas down there. We would also pop in some clear story windows to allow some natural light into that media center. This is kind of the locker bank area here. Again, we take out these central band of lockers that are currently right here. We still keep the area lined with lockers. And as Angie mentioned before, we're finding students are using lockers less and less. Now with everything on notebooks and taken around, they don't really use lockers as much. We would still keep a large portion, but we would just spread them out a little bit more. And kind of some more collaborative spaces, again, with lots of charging stations and comfortable seating. The new 1,500 seat auditorium, we would line it up. Basically, we'd create some stadium seating in the back, and we would also have a flat area in front. And what this would allow is some flexibility of the space. The stage would be large enough to accommodate the entire band or any kind of production that they wanted to have. And if they wanted to have wanted to hold a banquet in here, they could. They could have banquet style seating here. It's large enough that they wanted to hold a volleyball match, they could hold a volleyball match in here, or a wrestling match. They could put 2 wrestling mats in there and hold a wrestling match in there. So it could be used for a lot of different things for the school, and like I said, also the community could come in and use it as well. We would renovate the existing science classrooms, again, with new equipment and utilities, make sure they all had gas, air, water, electricity, lots of easily accessible storage. And then we would have some new science classrooms that kind of designed with some STEM ideas in mind as well. So laid out slightly different, but still, again, the equipment and the space to have a small lecture area here. And again, we're doing some more high-intensity math problems on the board. We would add some STEM labs, like the robotics labs and things, again, to help make that connection between the auditorium and the current STEM program. And then the football stadium, again, very similar to what we do at Heritage High School. Face it with brick, take advantage and put some spaces above this area right here, whether it's coaches' offices or film room or weight room. Redo the press box, provide some signage right there. And I guess we put a lot of second place in Blount County banners, right? And again, we really do appreciate your time to come out. This is, again, these aren't cement. I mean, I'm sure people have different opinions on different things, and there'll come a time when we'll talk about those. But we just wanted to show that this is possible, that this is very doable, and we're finding more and more that the different communities are investing in their schools. I mean, if you listen to the governor, I mean, they're putting their money where their mouth is with the Tennessee Promises program and the money that they're putting towards the CAT program and the community colleges, and different counties and stuff are doing the same thing. I just read where Sullivan County, which is not a lot unlike Blount County, is committed $140 million in phase 1 of their plan, and $60 million is for a new high school, $20 million is for a new middle school, and they're not Chattanooga or Nashville or Knoxville. They're a county not unlike us, and you don't have to look far from our county to see what's happening. I mean, there's a school system in our own county that's stepped up and done some things. So with that in mind, I'll get off my soapbox. I appreciate your time, and thank you very much. One real quick thing, and I feel embarrassed that I forgot. Jeremy Nichols, who's sitting right here. Jeremy, stand up, please. Jeremy is a 2000 Heritage High School graduate, and he's one mainly responsible for most of the images that we've done, all the 3D images and things that we've done. So, again, an example of a Heritage High School graduate that's done very well.
Commissioner Moon, Chairman Moon, and fellow commissioners, thank you for joining us this evening for this presentation. On behalf of the Board of Education, this meeting is adjourned.